attack. What do? Stand up, fight back. Montgomery Bell is under attack. What do? Stand up, fight back.
Would people be allowed to date outside of their race in this world, breed with each other, produce interracial babies?
It would be discouraged.
It would be discouraged. Why is that?
Well, because we want to conserve uniqueness. I don't want to destroy ethnicity. I don't think anyone at AmRen wants to create a homogeneous white population where everyone's identical. I think we're actually in much better position to preserve ethnicity, if that actually is what you care about. I think we are much more sympathetic towards letting the Irish be the Irish.
Let me clarify. I'm only arguing that there's no such thing as race. It's a social fiction. I'm not arguing that any kind of ethnic division or is good or not good. I'm arguing that you all represent an antiquated and totalitarian belief system that has no place in the 21st century. I think you're a relic, and you have to come to terms with that and accept it. I'm just here to ease you through that process.
It's okay to hold up a sign that
you guys are the
says
future.
It's okay to wipe out.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Wow. Well,
Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Randall Evans. Nice to meet you, sir.
Yes.
You changed my life. 52. I'm an old man.
Very excited to be here, and so far, so good. I love to be in Nashville, Tennessee. I told you I went to college at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Well, very good. We're so glad you.
I just would very much like to thank you.
Oh gosh. Well, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
That's true.
And I'm getting old, so it's your generation got to take it.
Oh, we're coming. We will step up to the plate. I do promise you. The fact that you've created all of this, you've created it for me.
Great.
Great.
Yeah. Great. Well,
and my kid though, I've got a 3-year-old son, and then so what you've made the information that you've made available to me, I will then make available to my son, and we will have an intergenerational continuance of this knowledge.
That's right. That's what's absolutely necessary.
Thank you.
Well, great.
All right, thank you, sir. I very much appreciate it.
Oh, glad to see you.
Okay.
Well, I had a bunch of blacks come up to my door because, of course, I get myself away because I have a Confederate flag sticker on my door. But I opened the door and they had the Baltimore Sun, and they go, "Is this you? I saw you racist in the paper." They're pointing to it, and I literally, not to sound like Rambo, but I had my piece behind me, and I pulled it out, and I just kept it down on the ground. And they go, "Oh man, we don't want no trouble. We don't want no trouble. It's all right. We don't want no trouble." And they
Watch out, Matt.
Well, I don't need to be a martyr. Not yet.
You don't need to be a martyr. The other thing, as Jared said, in any confrontation,
We're the
you
bad
are at
guys.
fault. Period. Even if they invade your, house and you shoot one, you're going to be to blame. So.
Of course, it's an annual event, and we cover you guys every year because people get all riled up when you come.
They get so riled up. All we want to do is get together and talk. I don't know why it so excites them, but it seems to do.
Why do you come to Tennessee, and specifically to Montgomery Bell State Park?
Tennessee is a beautiful state. And as I said earlier, sometimes in the past when we've dealt with private hotel owners, they have succumbed to pressure to break their contracts with us. But the state of Tennessee, they just shrug off that kind of thing. So we appreciate very much their willingness to help us exercise our First Amendment rights.
The people have said a lot of awful things about you.
Yes, they routinely say awful things about me.
Racist.
White supremacists, that's their favorite. White supremacists, they just love that.
What are you? Is that true?
Absolutely not. I don't even know what a white supremacist would be. It seems to me calling somebody a white supremacist is like calling somebody a Dukakis supporter. There just aren't any of them around anymore. All you have to do to be accused of white supremacy is to say that you simply prefer the company of people like yourself. I prefer European civilization. I prefer to live in an area that is majority white or European, if you will. And that's all it takes. Oh, bam, you're a Nazi, you're a hater, you're a bad guy. All you're doing is expressing a preference that is perfectly natural, normal, and healthy. Why is it that whites should be happy about an immigration process that is reducing us to a minority? Why should we be celebrating diversity if celebrating diversity means celebrating our reduced numbers and dwindling influence?
All right, last question. What is it that you most want people to know that you do stand for and not stand against?
We think that most people prefer the company of people like themselves, and that it's a mistake to try to push people together when their preference would be to be apart. Now, for those who wish to mix up, live a diverse life, there aren't that very many of them, but God bless them. But for those who wish to be amongst their own tribe and enjoy their own culture and let their own destiny unfold, we should not stand in their way.
Well, we could talk for a long time, but that's all that's going to fit in our story. Not even that much will fit in the story. Well, I hope you don't tangle with any protesters.
No. As I say, we just want to be left alone. I don't know really quite what stirs them up. And I'm sure you've spoken to them, and they have said their piece, and they've called me all sorts of horrible names, but that's what I've come to expect.
That's what gets on the news.
Yeah. And they were asking me, so what's the future? And I was like, well, I was trying to be like a Southern nationalist. And I was like, well, I believe that like white people, if we reject this multicultural nation, should be able to secede and then come together to create our own country.
Yeah.
And then as I was walking away, I was like, I just advocated white separatism. That's kind of a step. And now that I've kind of crossed that bridge, I might as well just own it.
Yeah, so that's good. That's kind of what I'm talking about, actually. Well, my talk is really anti-conservative. It's we need to get away from the conservative movement. They don't like us. They're never going to help us. They're never going to do anything for us. We don't agree with them. We're not conservative.
Yeah.
No. We're maybe even antithetical. Really. I mean, it's just kind of. I never was really like them. I think I was always a kind of Nietzschean, before I knew how to spell that word. Even when I was a freshman, I was like reading, I really got into Shakespeare when I was in college, and I really loved the tragedy. So I kind of had a different. I was anti-liberal,
right?
And I think instinctually, but at the same time, when I was when I was your age, I didn't like to talk about race because it just kind of felt it was kind of yucky. It was like only dumb people do that, only bigots do that. I want to be above this and kind of thing like that.
Right.
And it was actually reading Jared Taylor that. So I kind of really came to it with, by AmRen, and now I'm here.
Now you're an honored guest.
It doesn't say it.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to take your seats, please? We'd like to get started. How many people here are at an American Renaissance conference for the first time? Wow, gracious, look at that. Why on earth would anyone believe that the races on average are equal in ability? Admittedly, it's an unpleasant subject. It's unpleasant to tell black people that, well, no, on average, you're just not smart. Another question, obviously.
And it's because of the symbolic reality that the conservative movement leaders have to wrap up these So, this idea for us, immigration is a proxy for race. That way, immigration can be good, it can be bad, it can be a conquest, or it can be a European gathering.
I think all of us have a duty to our ancestors and an obligation to our children, and that is to keep fighting. We have no choice. I have no choice. You have no choice. Thank you very much.
I imagine my remarks today might displease some, but they are words that need to be said. For as long as anyone can remember, immigration has been the chief political concern at gatherings like this. In the summer of 2011, the Census Bureau reported that the majority of children born in the United States are non-white. Thus, from our perspective, any further immigration restriction efforts are essentially meaningless. But what can we do now to begin to set a new and different course for our movement and also our civilization? We need an ideal And as ideals go, sometimes the more impossible, the better. The ideal I will put forward is the creation of a white ethno-state on the North American continent. It would not just be a home for white people in America, but could be a home base for all Germans, Latins, and Slavs all over the world. We need an ethno-state so that our people can come home again, can live amongst family, and though it might sound banal, be happy and comfortable. But we also need an ethno-state for greater things, so that the white man can reach the stars. Before the onset of the democracy and equality phase, whites had a unique ability to risk everything for ends that are superhuman. We must give up the false dream of equalizing all races, not so that we can wake up to reality, because reality isn't inspiring, but that we can take up a new dream of channeling our interest towards the exploration of space, or the fostering of white people who are healthier, stronger, more beautiful, more intelligent, to the point that they can rival the ancients. To quote again from Herzl, who was referring to his then utopian Jewish state in Palestine, "If you wish it, it is no fairy tale. If you don't wish it, it is a fairy tale and will remain one." Or, to quote from another famous historical figure, "I have a dream." Thank you.